scammer hires my unit for a job and refuses to pay, so I help ruin him. This is a bit long because I have to give context to everything. Please bear with the explanation. A few things. First, I am a security officer with a private investigator certification, which allows me to take PI, private investigator, cases as long as it doesn't interfere with local police investigations, and any crimes that I witness must be reported to the police ASAP so they can make an arrest. PI cases come from a few sources. We are sometimes contracted by local police to do what's referred to as spotter work, where we are brought on active wide area investigations to do recon work and look, but not interact with anything that might be involved with the case. Basically, we are just an extra pair of eyes, or the local police will mix us in a surveillance operation, and we would follow low-profile individuals and report their day-to-day activities. These are completely confidential. Then there is client contracts. This is where corporate clients contract our company's personal investigations unit to investigate their employees' day-to-day activities while on the job to see if there is some hint that an employee is committing a crime, and to report if there is reasonable proof that an employee is breaking the law on company time. The job is to gather evidence to prove guilt or innocence. These aren't confidential, but we usually sign a non-disclosure agreement. Finally, there is personal contracts. When a person wants to hire a personal investigator to do a job, it's usually something along the lines of a husband or a wife suspects the spouse is cheating on them and wants some kind of proof. Or someone is looking for a relative or lost family and is trying to reconnect with them. There is no disclosure agreement, and it's up to the client to draw up a disclosure agreement. Most don't, but we keep quiet as professional courtesy. Okay, now that the job description is done, let me tell you what happened. About 3 years ago, I had been hired to do a personal contract. The client, a rich, sleazy snob, was apparently stupidly rich. He hired my unit. When I say my unit, I mean the unit I work with, a 5-man team. He believed his wife was cheating on him with other people, and he wanted proof of this so he could start his divorce process with solid evidence. He contracted us in a 6-month contract and was to pay the company XX dollars upon completion. So we set up surveillance cameras all over his large house and in the woman's car with the client's permission. We had at least one of the team tailing her at all times. Good times. Day in and out, we watched their lives, and in this line of work, you either get detached or emotionally invested, like watching a soap opera. As we watched them, we quickly saw this lady was a freaking saint. She volunteered at a soup kitchen and a children's hospital. She helped with local churches' canned food drives, those kind of things. She was the perfect definition of what a good human should be. On the other hand, the husband was a total bastard. He was the one we caught many times bringing women to his house. Sometimes he would bring 2 or 3 girls in one day, and that only what was recorded in the house. We arrive at the 4-month mark, which is basically where we show all the evidence and give the 3/4 report. We show him everything that we found and have a 6-hour debrief with video and audio support, showing that she hadn't done any wrongdoing other than a speeding ticket and a few double park situations. After we concluded the debrief, he looked stupefied. He says, "So you didn't catch her cheating? What was the point of me hiring you?" My boss, our captain, turns to him with a serious stare, which is perhaps in the most serious and badass-looking face I have ever seen in that man, and said, "You hired us to investigate your wife. You're unhappy that your wife is an honest and faithful woman?" The snob is visibly annoyed. He stands up and is getting his jacket when my captain says, "Look, there is still 2 months on the contract. We will keep tailing her, and we'll meet again after our contract is up and give you any updates." The snob turns to him and says, "Don't bother, this is over. I'm ending it. Come when she is not home and get your equipment out." The snob turns to him and says, "Don't bother, this is over. I'm ending it. Come when she is not home and get your equipment out." So a week later, we did exactly that. So a week later, we did exactly that. Now, fruit for thought. When contracts like his are made, a small portion is paid up front as commission fee, and the rest is paid at the end of the contract's allotted time. In his case, it is 6 months. Now pay works like this. The commission is divided up between each PI as a bonus to our salary, and that the salary is what we get from the company to get us through to the completion of the contract. The remaining balance after being paid by the client is then divided into a cut for completion for the PIs and a cut for the office. Good money when done right. So fast forward to the next payday after the contract is officially over. My unit gets a call from our office to come in on the next payday as there is an emergency meeting regarding us and the last contact. We get there and find out Snob pulled the funding and refused to pay us for the work. So we're getting paid, just not with the completion bonus. We all left super pissed. We went to lunch and brainstormed how to get even with the fucker. Then we remembered all the house footage of his dirty deeds. At first, we wanted to blackmail him, but that's low, and we're better than that. I remembered the wife, so I reached out to her. I set a date to sit down and explain everything to her. I showed her the videos. She cried for a good half hour. I think I broke her whole world. It was gut-wrenching. I then advised her to get a lawyer and proceeded to give her all the collected evidence and my business card. Aftermath. Fast forward about 6 months. I'm called into court, as my company is suing him from fraud, breach of contract, and unpaid dues. My company wins the case easily, as his lawyer's argument was that we failed to deliver the result he wanted. But we weren't hired to deliver a product. We were hired to observe and report. We got paid in the end. I was contacted by the wife who thanked me for all the evidence. She got a divorce. Because of all the evidence I gave her, she got almost everything. His huge house, both cars, and a huge cash sum. Moral of this story: don't try to screw over people who specialize in gathering evidence and reconnaissance. Edit update as of June 17th, 2019. A lot of private massages and a few posts asked about the wife. I promised I'd look into it, and I did. I got in touch with her, and we met with her yesterday. She was delighted to hear from me. We met up a local coffee shop, and I got to meet her new husband. And she has had 2 kids, both girls, and are cuties and so well behaved, with him, and is pregnant with the 3rd, confirmed it's a boy. She has been remarried for almost 2 years now. After a few coffees and idle chat, she told me about her own petty revenge story. Now keep in mind this is what she told me, so take it with a grain of salt. She told me of how the family of Super Snob demanded that they get the house back, as it's their family ancestral home, and offered to buy the house from her almost immediately after she divorce hearing. She had a realtor come and evaluate the house. The family wanted to give her $250,000, but the realtor concluded that the house value was near $1.5 million. The family kept demanding she sell over the following months. She told the family about the realtor and his appraisal documents of the house being $5 million. So she would be putting on the market up for sale for that price, but would sell to them first because they were like family for a discount of $3.5 million. They bought the house with cash next day in hand. End the pleasant evening with them. As I'm leaving, wife smiles at me and grabs the sleeve of my arm. She says, "Wait, I never got to say this and I want to tell you, thank you. You are a blessing that rescued me." She then reached in her purse and get her wallet. I think she is going to hand me money or something, and I raise my hand to stop her. She smiles and pulls out my old business card and says I tried to call you and your company a year ago to thank you, but the number on the card was disconnected. I wanted to know if you could update your contact information for me. I ask her why. She continues smiling. Because you're the kind of person I like. You were looking out for me when I needed it, and I want to keep you in my back pocket just in case. I updated my contact information for her, and was invited with my family to their home for dinner on Friday. The icing on the cake of yesterday is this morning. Amazingly, I just got a call from my boss. Very excited, told me that specifically you have a new client who has offered you a 5-year employment contract. Apparently, wife's new husband is a magistrator and has got his boss to approve a contract for the company, with the provision that I oversee as the new captain, which means the unit I will be running will be taking our jobs assignments directly from the court.